What did you find out about your husband only after you got married? Before we got married I loved how sarcastic she was. After we got married I realized she wasn't sarcastic at all, just mean. We're still happily married, though. He hates grocery shopping, like would rather clean the toilet than pick up more than 2 things at the grocery store. It kind of works though, because I hate cleaning the bathroom. I understand his side of this. People at grocery stores move incredibly slow. Next to getting off a full plane, it's the slowest I've ever seen people move. Frick, it's infuriating if self-checkout isn't working. 2 months after our wedding, just after we mailed all the thank you cards to our guests, she calmly suggested an idea about our honeymoon, which was another 2 months away. Let's go as friends. What she really meant was let's get divorced. She genuinely believes her life is meant to be a tragedy, a belief that I couldn't help her shake off. We did manage to go on the honeymoon as a couple, but we filed for divorce within half a year. I hope she's okay. I'm having a blasty blast. I wouldn't be inclined to believe that last line, but I can't imagine someone writing blasty blast and it not being true. My wife can speak French. We are on vacation last February in Papeete, Tahiti, French Polynesia. My wife starts talking French to everyone talking French. We've been married 25 years. There's no way that she didn't plan that. I'm gonna blow his freaking mind. That 3/4 of the time he spends in the bathroom is spent on iPad time. For years I thought he was struggling with digestive issues. Nope, just the Simpsons game. He thought the word subtle meant the opposite of what it means. All through dating and the first few years of marriage, 7 years, I just thought he was using it sarcastically. Also, he gets horizontal and vertical confused. As in, he falls down on the bed after a long day and says, it's so nice to finally be vertical. He has a nice butt, though, so it evens out. The butt will one day start to sag, but horizontal will never be vertical. Poor guy. That he has a third middle name. He gets a pass though, because he didn't know either. And his amazing pinnacle of love and devotion, his mother, also forgot, and when shown the birth certificate showing a third middle name, wondered aloud, now why did I do that? Haha, some kid I graduated high school with had around 5 middle names. Quite a mouthful when they announced his name. He's very much like a llama. Upset him at just the right time and he'll completely lose his appetite and refuse to eat for a while. Well, I learned something new about llamas today. I literally only discovered this the moment we were married, that he has a very romantic side. All the time we were together before, I probably would have said I would have liked a little more traditional romance, but I appreciated how straightforward and pragmatic he was about other things and thought I can't have it both ways. I could add that he is a theoretical physicist who works with engineers, and he has the personality to match. He always said he thought marriage was essentially meaningless. Eventually, for external reasons, we decided to do it. I proposed to him, by the way, with a new watch. We threw together a cheap little ceremony in a few weeks to get it over with, as we both put it. He put on his suit. I put on my pretty dress. We had the officiant there, that I found on Yelp 2 weeks before, and got started. However, when it came time for the vows and the ring exchange, I suddenly found myself facing a very sentimental man, who was clearly deeply in love with me and overjoyed to be marrying me. After that, the same man who took years to feel comfortable holding my hand in public for even 5 minutes was hugging and kissing me in front of everyone at every moment he could during the ceremony. Then he wanted to celebrate every week anniversary, then every month anniversary with romantic dinners and having the same cake we had at our wedding. He starts celebrating at 12:01 AM on our anniversaries. He gazes lovingly at his wedding ring and always wants me to do the Wonder Twins thing with him by clicking our rings together. Who'da thunk it? That Rice Krispie treats are his favorite baked good. He had never so much as mentioned them before to me. 2 years married and suddenly this bombshell, out of the blue. But seriously, after we got married I realized that he wasn't as calm as he seemed. He can actually get very anxious, like a normal human being. And if he doesn't do something active for a few days, work out, run, etc., he gets hyper like a 3-year-old on a sugar high manic. Can't sit still, loud singing. It's quite something to behold. I think your husband is actually a puppy. I just asked my wife this question and she told me it was the wart thing on the shaft of my penis. I wasn't aware that I had a wart thing on my penis, so I ran to the bathroom to check, only for her to arrive while I'm tugging away at the skin to laugh at me being so gullible. My wife and I are dying laughing at this. Hey, can you grab me something from the candy drawer if you're going to the kitchen? That's how I found out we had a candy drawer. After dating for 7 years and well establishing that I like to sleep in when I don't have plans, we got married. Suddenly, IDKY, apparently we had a bedtime and in the morning, it was suddenly time for us to get up. Had to have a stern conversation with my morning person husband about that real quick. If there's stuff we have to do, yeah sure, but if it's a lazy Sunday, leave me alone and go play video games alone. My wife turned out to be extremely food jealous. If I am eating something that looks and tastes better than what she is eating, she gets pretty upset if I don't offer her any. My wife insists on tasting my food drink if we get the same thing. Doesn't matter what it is, she's gotta make sure that I didn't get the better one. Love that lady. That he supported his buddy's family financially while his buddy spent a year in federal prison. Not England as everyone else was told. My husband kept his buddy's employment open by doing his buddy's job as well as his own job during that year. Awesome guy. Capital X. Not just after getting married, but after being together almost 18 years. One night we go to dinner at a friend's house. They're making pizzas, which we don't often do. My wife offers to help, grabs some dough, and starts spinning it on her fists like a freaking pro, tossing it high in the air with a confident flourish. I had no idea. I mean, I knew she did some time at a Little Caesars as a teenager, but I guess I assumed they just pressed the dough into pans there or some crap. I didn't ask, and she never brought it up. Turns out it's a damned attractive skill for a lady to have. Dying at the line did some time at Little Caesars. My wife can make balloon animals and I never knew it. One day we're sitting at home with the kids and after I brought home the wrong type of balloons, out of nowhere she twists up a dog, then a monkey. This is the kinda crap I wanted from this thread. My grandpa told my grandma he was Italian. They got married while she was pregnant and she had not met his family yet. When they did go to meet his parents, they were talking in Ojibwe, a Native American language, and she looked at him and said, "That's not Italian. What are they speaking?" And that's how my grandma found out she was married to an Indian, not an Italian. The shedding. My god, the shedding. I'd like to put a long sleeve shirt on without getting one of her hairs stuck between my fingers on the way through the sleeves. Man, I remember what that was like. She only laughs at her own jokes. Like, she'll laugh after I say something, but it's only because she's thinking something funnier in her head. She's her own best comic. I told my husband the other day that other people don't make me laugh that much, even TV shows or stand up, but dang, can I crack myself up? It feels narcissistic, but it's just the way I'm wired, I guess. Got it from my dad, a very serious dude. We'd be eating dinner and he'd start laughing out of nowhere and not be able to stop because of some dad joke he thought up in his head. He had never had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in his life, and I found this out when we were married for more than 5 years. I made him his first PB&J when he was 30, and he was blown away by how good it was. Whoa, just think of all the other things he hasn't had. I can't wait until you introduce him to potatoes. That he was married before. We've been married for over 10 years. I found out last week that the divorce from his first marriage was never filed, so my marriage to him is not valid. The first time I've ever seen someone else who had this happen to them, she somehow never mentioned the fact until much later. I figured when issuing marriage licenses that they check that crap, but apparently not. I found out my husband leaves everything open, so every drawer, door, cabinet, etc. that he opens will stay open. He also found out I'm even clumsier than he thought, and on my way to close one cabinet or drawer I will definitely hit my head on an open cabinet or trip over a drawer. Now he only leaves a few cabinets open at a time. Progress. The not closing the cabinets thing might be the death of my husband. I always joke it's like living with a poltergeist. I leave the kitchen and when I come back in every cabinet is open. When he lived with his dad, before we moved in together, He'd open the utensil drawer and just dump the container from the dishwasher in. That is never okay. He's literally never cleaned a thing in his life. No idea how to vacuum, clean a toilet or a shower. It was interesting. He's much better now. She had 2 other kids that she'd abandoned after my youngest, with her, was just over 1 year old. We didn't see her for almost 10 years. I have custody, for your information. My wife has very strong opinions on natural foods, added sugars, preservatives, and organic growing methods. After we got married, I noticed that several staples of my diet were slowly being phased out. The other shoe didn't fully drop until we had kids, at which point everything was evaluated for content before purchase, and many things were just barred from being brought into the house. This isn't a bad thing. I'm healthier than I have ever been in my life, but she didn't show any of the signs of being this crunchy before we got married. My wife is a sleep talker. I'll go along and speak to her for a while, and she never remembers anything. 2-3 times a week. Once, she was dreaming that a tornado was bearing down on the house and she was trying to round up pets and children. She was crying and calling out, so I got up and grabbed the corner of the mattress and started lifting and shaking the heck out of the bed, saying it's here, it's on us. She cried and screamed even harder, reaching around for the kids as she slowly came awake and realized what was going on. She threw a book at me and called me an butthole and went back to sleep. Can confirm, I'm butthole, but dang, it was funny. How shockingly alike we are. We're going on year number 5 together and year number 2.5 married. She and I think so much alike that it's scary. To the point where we say the same things at the same time in the same exact way on a daily basis. If I didn't know for a fact that she wasn't my Earth 11 or Rule 63 counterpart, then I'd be worried. How hardworking he is. When we were engaged, he was training in his field. He is naturally intelligent, so didn't study much and played a lot of games. Now that he's in his career, I've seen such a shift in his attitude and nature. I'd known that he'd struggled with anxiety and depression throughout his life, but about 5 months after the wedding it really hit hard. We'd just bought a car because he'd been doing well at his first full-time job. The stress of needing to work or else crashed down so hard that had to stop completely. The panic attacks were so severe and frequent that he nearly couldn't leave the house. He couldn't drive to work because he'd shake so violently and his arms and legs would go numb. Every morning around 4 AM he'd wake up to try to go to work and I'd stop him. We'd sit in the dark until he calmed down enough to play a video game for a while. These attacks would happen around 5 times a day. They've dissipated since he formally left the job and we decided that my income was technically enough. I had no idea that anxiety attacks could be that severe, and I wish I could take them away for him, at least so that he could get more out of life. Since we decided he won't work outside of home, we've started a family and he'll soon be a stay-at-home dad for our son. Instead of filling my husband with anxiety or terror, I've never seen him so excited and confident in himself. My sister found out 3 years into her relationship that her husband used to be an NFL wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. She thought he just played beer league football casually with his friends. They were sitting around watching a football game on TV and he knew really specific details about certain players. She was asked him how he knew all this and he said he was pretty good friends with him. The conversation kept going and he finally admitted to playing in the NFL with him. His family would never talk about it either. She would be over at his house and his sister told her that his college games were pretty fun to go to. She never brought up that he was the star wide receiver playing in front of 70,000 people. I managed a restaurant where one of my line cooks was a former NFL wide receiver. He got hurt early in his career and was forced to quit playing. He didn't like to talk about his time in the NFL though, so most people didn't know. My wife and I discovered horrifying things about each other because after we married we shared one car. I will drink a coffee that has been out all day. It's normal for me to put a giant jug of iced coffee in the car and then sip from it intermittently for many hours. My wife, it turns out, often feels congested. She'll discreetly hock a gigantic loogie into any discarded coffee cup nearby. I would drive the car in the morning, then we'd switch midday and she'd take it for the afternoon. Then I'd take it back in the evening. Twice I picked up my neglected coffee and took a long draw. The straw was blocked, needed lots of suction, and then something icy and slimy slithered into my mouth. We have 2 cars now and I keep them both stocked with tissues at hand. Oh my gosh, this made me gag. Ugh. The last girlfriend before I got married, and a girl I thought I wanted to marry when we started living together. None of this happened before that point. She began insisting she get all the pillows. Not all the pillows but one. Not enough pillows where n equals positive integer. All. At first, I'm like, okay, she likes a big thing of pillows. That's cool. I like a flat pillow. So I went down to the Bed Bath & Beyond and bought several pillows. She's nice. I like her. The sex is pretty excellent. So I'm cool. Here, darling, all the pillows you want. Oh, thank you that night. She's trying to steal my one flat and kinda stinky pillow. I'm all, is there a different kind of pillow you like? I'm cool with that. I like this kind. Off to BB&B. A couple more of those. There were 8 freaking pillows that were hers. And we'd have sex, go to sleep, and she'd start trying to wrench my pillow out from under me. Do I snore a little bit? I could buy a different pillow. Okay, that would be great. Back to BB&B. A couple more. We now own 10 freaking pillows. Plus my own. I toss my pillow in the closet, try one pillow. She pulls that away from and adds it to her nest. I try a different pillow the next night. Yanks that. I get the old pillow out from the closet and she tries to take that. She's now sleeping on the iron throne of pillows, where the corners of pillows are poking out everywhere. And as with the iron throne, she's clearly uncomfortable because all the pillows in the world can't sate her lust for a cushiony ride to dreamland. Unlike the iron throne, the average age of these pillows is less than a fortnight. So, finally, sex notwithstanding, I laid it down. I get 1 pillow, not 0 pillows. If I wake up and I have 0 pillows, we're done. She never took the pillow, but we ended things shortly thereafter. If you loved me, you'd give me your pillow. I like that woman, really, but I dodge a bullet. I can't imagine living with someone like that when if I later had money. No, you don't get the new car. I get the new car. Number. The new TV means I get to watch it, not you. Etc. Something seriously screwed up happened with that woman in her childhood and I never quite put my finger on it, but it was I must have all things to feel loved. It bled into a few other things. I would get 1 serving of ice cream out of the tub. She got all else. She was a lovely 5 feet 3 inches 125. Not tiny, but in no way fat. Anyway, no idea why I dealt with her for as long as I did. Well, nothing PG rated, but years later I came across wisdom of the Dalai Lama. Not getting what is sometimes a remarkable stroke of good luck. Had to check whether you were Vargas like halfway through your story. That's how strange it got. She would turn tricks at the officers club at an army base. 3-5 a night. She dropped this bomb on our honeymoon. Not a great way to start a marriage. I believe it was featuring Bragg that had a scandal similar to that. Friend of a friend was caught up in that mess. Back in the mid 80s an enlisted man brought his wife on board a ship in Norfolk and she was paid for her services. That he has an infuriating habit of throwing things away that shouldn't be thrown away. He is an extremely clean person, and I love that about him, but he takes it overboard. For example, we will have a half a tub of butter and see another tub at the store that's on sale for a decent price. So we will buy the butter that's on sale. Well, instead of using up the half tub of butter at home, he will just throw it away and open the new one. He does this not just with butter, but with every single food item you can think of. He also throws away things that in my opinion are very important, but in his opinion are causing clutter, which he gets super anxious about. He has thrown away a DVD collection, our lease, brand new clothes that myself or my kids haven't worn yet and so in his mind never get worn, blankets, towels, shoes, ect. I tried to set up a box for him to throw everything into instead of the garbage so that way I can pull things out that I actually want and then donate the other things to charity, but that didn't last long. He literally threw the box away because it was in the way. Also learned when we got a dog that he is terrified to scold the dog for any reason or raise his voice around it because he's convinced the dog won't like him if he does those things, and that thought is devastating to him. Unfortunately, my husband is probably the sweetest, kindest person you could ever hope to meet, so it makes it really hard to stay angry at him for any reason. TLDR. Throws away things that are still useful, lets the dog do whatever he wants. The extent to which she thinks farts are funny. She let on that they were humorous before we got married, but now I realize she thinks they're goddamn hilarious. A good fart can always put a smile on her face. You lucky man. Perfect way to end an argument is to let rip the roars of Cthulhu from your butt rectum. We are now married, but after we moved in together I helped him come to the realization that his excessive gas was due not to normal human variants but to lactose intolerance. He had always lived with male roommates, but apparently they just thought it was funny. I love how guys will just neglect stuff like that because it's hilarious. That she was gay. This is significant because I am straight and assumed she was as well. Nothing. That's why it took us 7 years to get married. I told her I'm only doing this once so we better be sure. Happy together since 2000. She's really anal about things and super type A, but is also as lazy as me, so it doesn't actually get done. Also, apparently she missed a part of our long conversations about adoption when I very clearly stated that I didn't want to adopt babies because I don't like them and they're in high demand and it's the kids that need us. She recently informed me, if we're adopting, we're getting a baby, so that's been great. I forgot you could adopt people that weren't babies and got confused. I didn't realize until after we lived together that she can't maintain one's bathroom floor dry. When she showers, I feel as though half of the time she points the shower head at the ground outside the shower. When she gets out, I imagine her shaking her body off in canine fashion. If she washes her face at the sink, I visualize her saying one small number of water for me, one handful for you, to the floor. That he had me fired from my job on my day off, and it was my birthday. I called him crying and he consoled me that night. We started dating soon after. 2 years after we got married I overheard him talking to a group about how he got me fired from work so he could date me. I don't know, that's insanely manipulative, like almost creepy as frick. Not me, but my great grandfather. He got married again in his 70s, to a woman in her 60s. Everyone in the family didn't like her, but my grandp is old and she makes him happy, so everyone plays along. 8 years in, my ancestor approaches my father, who has learned a trade and knows some bookkeeping, some stuff about money. Grandp starts asking him these questions, like, how much household money do you give your wife each month? Turns out, my father was being taken for a pretty penny. This woman received hundreds of mark back in the day without carrying any of the expenses, and she bunkered it all. Apparently, she had snuggled up to the next rich dude at a seniors resort and had banked on my grandp dying from old age before her. Only, the genes are strong with my family and the old coot simply wouldn't cooperate in that matter. So my grandfather got a divorce in his mid-80s by female judge. This was the early 90s. My great-grandmother, no blood relation, learned a thing or two about my grandpa. Namely, that he was willing to go to jail to get rid of her. Such was the extent of his disgust with what she was doing. The judge first didn't want to divorce them and condemn them to die lonely, so my grandpa threatened to kill his wife in front of the judge if she didn't do it. The judge was furious and told him he'd be going to jail for the rest of his days if he did that. And my grandp, God bless his soul, told her that he had survived World War I, sleeping on the corpses of former schoolmates and eating nothing but rotten bread for weeks. The thought of a warm jail cell, with a radio, and 3 meals a day, for free, did not scare him at all. You'll be doing me a favor, judge lady. The whole point of this is that my family can still inherit some money from me before this witch takes it all, and by sending me to the big house you'd actually make the state pay for my every expense and my burial. Do not tempt me in this, I am starting to like the idea, is what he reportedly told her. I'd say my great-grandmother learned a thing or two about the sweet old man she had been married to for 8 years a day, if nothing else how large his balls really were. If If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.